That's a very good question and a very good point about eBay's sort of brand awareness. I have to stop you right there to say though, like we have a pretty good brand recognition, but we notice that we have to make more work to make sure that our users and customers understand what we are in 2017. So our business model has quite strongly evolved from a consumer to consumer marketplace to a business to consumer marketplace. So nowadays, more than 80% of the items that are being sold on our site are sold by businesses. They're new and they're sold at fixed prices. So it's we still quite often, see the perception of eBay as a C2C auction house, which is definitely no longer the case. As to the opportunities for small business that you addressed, given that we've so strongly evolved from C2C to B2C, we've also become a small business enabler, big scale. So essentially what we see is that technology has quite fundamentally revolutionized commerce in the sense that everyone, whether you're very small, very remote, have very limited financial backing, you can be a successful participant in global commerce from day one if you use services like marketplaces like ours, use payment services, use shipping services. So essentially we see a phenomenon that we call global small business online trade emerging on our marketplace, where small businesses are seizing the opportunities of global commerce in an unprecedented way, really. And actually what we see is that most of them, I think the global average, around 93% of the small businesses that use our marketplace are engaged in exports. So there's definitely economic opportunities for small businesses to participate in global commerce. It's difficult, of course, to always say, but one of the scenarios that our company is working towards is that commerce will become more contextual in the way that, in the sense that commerce will come to you rather than you going to commerce. So commerce needs to be everywhere where consumers are. There will be, we were talking about worlds of million screens, etc. But just to sort of mention an example of the way commerce will be more integrated into people's lives is that what we can imagine happening through the development of artificial intelligence and machine learning is that you see a person who has a nice dress, you take a picture of the dress with the app on your phone. The phone automatically shows you different listings on eBay with similar dresses. So it is very sort of, intuitive, it's very present in your everyday life. Another example is what we have already rolled out is shopbot technology. So you can, if you go on, open your Facebook Messenger, for example, and start chatting to eBay shopbot, you can really have a conversation about, you want to buy a dress, and then you'll get questions, and you have a conversation and answers and options, and in the end of it, you'll be able to buy the dress you'd like to. So we're continuously working, as a marketplace, we're continuously working with both sides of the market, so sellers and buyers. And then of course, in the end, the transaction is between a seller and a buyer and not between a marketplace and the buyer. But through our work with our seller community, we're continuously trying to sort of shape them, train them, educate them, give them tips on how to reach those retail standards that customers expect nowadays. So shipping is a good example. I think a few years ago, it was still okay to have fairly slow, unreliable shipping services. Customers were not that picky about shipping, but nowadays sort of 2-day, 3-day free shipping is kind of the market expectation. So we're working continuously with our sellers to make sure that that offering is taking place on our site as well. Well, obviously, as eBay would say, come and join our marketplace. So we would like to think that we have a very appealing proposition for small businesses. It's very easy to start trading on our site. The entry barriers are very low, no upfront investments needed in terms of using our site. Also, our fee policy is very much geared towards actual business success. So there's a nominal listing fee and then a final value fee. So unless you're making sales on our site, the costs are also very, very limited. In addition to the sort of basic propositions, we then have different kind of tailored options in terms of services that small businesses that would use our site would have have available. So one is join our site. Second is see what works. So what we see also quite a lot in looking at the small business trading behavior is that sellers learn through trial and error. So before actually finding the product or the product category or the vertical that sellers want to focus on in the long term. We see that sellers quite often try different categories, see what works in a certain market and one doesn't. So it's also a great place to experiment and learn and eventually grow as a business.